All right, welcome back everyone. So today we're going to take a look at how I like to typically set up and pregame these. I haven't actually finished this prep, but I do plan on working on it later today, ideally before the patch comes out. But let's get into this. So IAE and ILW are both events. IAE is right now towards the end of the year, whereas ILW is in about the middle of the week, called Fleet Week. So those are kind of marketing campaigns, obviously meant to sell ships, but and they're pretty interesting to check out the hauls. I do enjoy this kind of event. But they're also a time frame to pick up more ships and use, in this case, I'm going to be discussing store credit, using that capability to put things in buyback that allows you to have access to those ships and items throughout the whole year instead of just having access to them when they're time limited like they are now. So if you're really new to the game, this may not really necessarily apply to you because you'd have to use just current new money. But for those that have been playing for a while, you may have access to store credit, or you may not realize you have access to more store credit. So first up is to kind of clean house, right? So it's going to be talking about getting rid of things in your fleet temporarily. The bigger ship you have to temporarily get rid of, that would be more ideal. In this case, you need to realize too that things that go in buyback, you cannot buy them with store credit except for one time, 4 times a year essentially. So what happens is you get a buyback token, and when you go to buy something back with the store credit, then you'll be able to purchase that back, but it is going to cost you that buyback token. You get 4 of those a year, once per quarter, and they do have a schedule for that, and they'll announce that schedule. I'll link that schedule in the description. Along with that, if you're in concierge, you actually have 2 buyback tokens per quarter, so there's a total of 8 buyback opportunities. So it's not necessarily that you can buy back just anything you want out of there without having to spend real money. However, you can also put really low cost and stuff in there, so I'll have some examples of that, and you can buy them back at more like a subscription-based money amount, like $5 or $10, when you need them, more so than having to spend a bunch of money ahead of time and then hold on to that ship. So you need to build out a baseline of how much money you want to spend. So in this example, I've got my cutter here because I've got this new starter package. You cannot melt your starter package if you don't have concierge. So if you don't have concierge, to just know you have to retain your starter package, or you need to be purchasing a new starter package with your store credit. And a lot of those are warbond these days, so obviously just keep your starter package more than likely. You can upgrade that ship if you'd like, but again, it gets a little murky then, so just keep your starter package. The colorless black, though, I bought this as a standalone ship, so it's $110 in value. When you do a CCU upgrade with those upgrades, the amount of money you actually put into the ship is the amount of money you would get back. So if I were to do a CCU up to this and I've actually spent $100 on the colorless black, they're not going to give me $110 back. They're going to give me only the $100 back. But in this example, I bought this standalone, so I've got $110. I'm going to melt this and use this to store credit. The reason I mentioned the buyback token as well is because, let's say I still have a buyback token. Towards the end of the show, I'm actually going to buy this back and put this back in my fleet. My fleet will stay the exact same, but I'll have things on my buyback that allows me to have power to deal with situations throughout the year that I wouldn't necessarily have if I didn't melt this temporarily before buying it back at the end of the show. So up next, we'll take a look at how some of that works. So first of all, when you have something in your buyback that's a concept ship, that concept ship can still be purchased back even after it's been released. So you can see here, I've got the Apollo Medevac as an example. If I go to buyback, it's still $275 because that was the original concept pricing that I picked it up at. You may have a lower concept price, but at the end of the day, this is what it was at, and now it's at $290. So it's a $15 savings. If you're interested in that, that is something to consider. To go along with that as well, you can exchange these items every 24 hours. So the way that works is once you go to the store, you can hit this exchange button, and this allows you to sell it back and get the store credit that you've spent on it. You have to click these 2 boxes, but again, you can only do this after waiting for 24 hours after purchasing it. So you need to be aware of that time frame because you can't just melt everything instantly after just buying it, because then you can just keep buying over and over again and keep using the store credit. They want you to have to wait a little bit. So that's the reason that I have to map out the days that we're going to be going over and how to do that. Additionally, there are upgrade options. The way that works is you actually can pick up, in this case, this is a warbond. You can come into the store, you can click on whatever ship you want to upgrade to. In this case, let's say I want to get a hold of the TAC. I want to pick all ships. I want to pick the closest price. In this case, it's pretty far off with like the Glaive or the Endeavor. Let's say I want to pick one of these. The Paladin's actually 350, or the Asgard, sorry. I'll pick, that Paladin or the Asgard. I can pick up one of these. If I wanted to pick up the warbond version of the Paladin, this is how you can start saving money. So if I wanted to buy these, let's say I don't have the Paladin, I can buy this, $25. And then actually, if I want to save money to jump to the Asgard, or the Paladin in this case, I can pick up the warbond here. So the way that works is once you click this, and you don't have to own the ship on the left, you just need to own it before you do the CCU jump. You don't have to currently own it, so I just need to make sure if I want to do, let's say I want to pick the mole here, I don't have to currently own the mole, which I do not. It tells you here you don't own a mole, but I can purchase the mole or purchase a CCU for it, and you can continue to make these jumps over and over, and you'll be able to save money with these war bonds options. Now, you do have to pay real world cash for this. You cannot use store credit. So in this example, I won't be doing this. And you need to hold on to this war bond. If I were to purchase this war bond for $10, I need to keep it in my hangar. Otherwise, if I do sell it back and put it into buyback, if I look to buy it back out of buyback, it's going to be at the non-war bond price. So if I were to do that, instead of looking at the $10, it would be the original $35 that it began with. So if I want to save the $25 and lock that in, I need to pay the current new money cash into the system. That's why they have it as a war bond. And on top of that, I have to hold on to it until I use it. Or if I do sell it back, I'll get the $10 back, but I know that it goes in the buyback, but I can only buy it back at the original full value price, not the war bond price. So that's some of the tricks to kind of keep track of. So, and again, with the buyback piece and the putting things back into buyback and exchanging things, once you bought something, if I bought this war bond or this CC right here, I would have to wait 24 hours before I can melt it. Before you get the option to exchange, it will give you a little timer if you can't do it yet. It'll tell you how many more hours you have to wait until you can sell it back. Sorry, Guardian here with a little bit of an edit. So these 4 ships, I forgot to note, I noted previously in another video, but these are the 4 you may want to potentially pick up a CCU for. In my example, I'm not going to be holding on to these, but if you want to lock in the savings, you'll want to hold on to these CCUs and not just buy them and then willy-nilly let them go. So the hull A, the hull B, the raft, and the Raylan. The Raylan's a great example because it's $5 to go from the terrapin, either one of them, to the Raylan. It's a $5 difference, and so that's going to go up pretty significantly in value because it can carry twice as much SCUs than what it originally could. So it's definitely going to be something worth looking out for. The hull B is going to be a similar situation. I think that'll go up pretty high in value. These other ones, the hull B and A and the raft, I think they'll go up slightly. I don't think they'll go up a whole lot, but we'll see. I mean, it's not up to me to make the price change. So just keep that in mind. I hope you all find this information helpful as we continue on through this example. But again, be mindful, you can't just put these in your buyback because if you were to buy them back, you have to pay the full price again. So you would have to buy these and hold on to them in your My Hangar in order to actually keep that value once the price changes. All right, let's head on to the rest of the video. So that's where kind of the schedule comes into play. So you have to use the schedule for the event in order to better do this. So up first is the RSI date. So that's how I'm going to start off my looking at this, is I'm going to look at RSI stuff that I'm interested in first. So this is where you can see that you can start to save quite a bit of money. Is let's say I want to pick up the Galaxy CCU because I want access to the Galaxy when it comes out, and the MR. So there's 2 concept ships I've got access to here if I put these in buyback, and they're only $5 when I want to buy that back. Obviously that doesn't buy me the whole ship. I need to still have the Valkyrie and set up the Galaxy, but it allows me the whole year to set up a chain up to the Valkyrie and ultimately to the Galaxy. Same thing down here. Let's say I want to pick up the Zeus MR. Similar story here. There's quite a few options at 185. It's not just limited to the Valkyrie. There's a couple options up to 185. There's 2 Hornets. There's the Hornet Tracker and the Hornet Ghost. There's a Firebird. So there's a couple of the different sabers. There's a Saber Firebird, Saber Comets. I think the Peregrine's also there. So there's quite a few options. I just need to pick up a CCU for one of those and up to the MR, and possibly one of these may be made available as a war bond. So I might actually be able to make a saving jump in there as well. And then I can hold on to that chip until the Zeus is announced that they're being worked on or it's nearing completion. Then I could pay the $5 cash to get this back out of the buyback and then apply that at a later date. So again, it has to be RSI focused here because RSI is the first day. After that, on day 2, Origin opens up. So let's say I have a concept ship I want to get a hold of, the G12. That's an Origin ship. So I'm working with the Cutlass Black that I sold originally. So I have $110 each day to work with. So that's 60 of my 110. Well, I still want access to an Orion. So what actually happens here is that RSI date, what happens is after you pass that manufacturer remains open for the rest of the show. So on this second day, I'll have access to not only RSI, but it'll be on the second day Orion, Origin and RSI, sorry. So if I want to pick up this Orion, you can do that. And then from there, I can then have that in my buyback. Obviously, that's an expensive buyback, but it is a concept ship pricing. So if I were to buy this back the day before the Orion comes out, the Carrack to Orion jump could probably be fairly significant, and it won't be $50. So me personally, the Perseus comes out in a couple days. Actually, it probably comes out tonight with the patch. And so I am holding on to a couple Banu Merchantmen to Perseus upgrades because it's expensive now, But $25 is not super expensive, but it is something that you want to hold on to in case, more than likely, also the Bandit Merchantman typically goes on sale as a war bond during the event. So you can see how you can start saving money based upon just your knowledge of the game and how it works. That's largely the guidance here. A couple of things again to mention is I have I have day 13 here listed, not day 14. So this event does go from November 20th, which is tomorrow, up until November 3rd. However, if you want to use the buyback token, you just need to make sure you lock in your fleet by that last day, before the last day. So by December 2nd, you want to make sure that you have your buyback stuff locked in. Additionally, there's going to be a number of whole limited ships sold as well, so that's something you want to consider. If you're already kind of aware of that, you'll have to keep that in mind. So if I wanted to have access to the Kraken on, obviously Orion, well, Orion has 890. This example is not good because I don't have 890 of credit worth to work with, but if you wanted to hold on to the 890, you would need to, put that in your calendar and your schedule here and be aware of that day, that whole limited ship. And if you can get it, great. And you just kind of evaluate that in a part of your budget. Again, feel free to map this out all the days if you'd like to, or just do a couple days. It's not as important to map it out if you don't need to. Yeah, just also consider when you're looking at war bonds in general, how many of the different war bonds are going to be similar in value. So you don't necessarily want to have the Shiv and the MISC Prospector are similar options. For example, they're $5 apart. But if I have a couple of war bonds for the new Shiv, then I don't necessarily need quite a few for the Prospector because they're so close in value that one or the other kind of makes sense, not having necessarily both. But you may need both. It just depends on your chains. Anyways, there is a CCU game as well. You could use that to kind of get your chains going. And there is also a CCU Discord that they actually give direct guidance. There's a whole channel dedicated for it, or a whole, it's really a channel section that they're going to give guidance for each day that the CCU comes out. There's going to be a Warbond CCU each day. There'll be a new one, probably, for that manufacturer. At least one. Last year, that's how it was. There might possibly be two or more, but more than likely it'll just be one like there was last year. Anyways, I hope you all found this video helpful, and I appreciate those take time to like, subscribe. I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.